hoping and wishing everyone safe and healthy. This is part one of a program we're going to do for you. It's designed to be very brief, 50,000-foot overview. Because there's so much fluid going on, we're actually going to try to be ahead of the curve for all of you. We're not going to be able to have Q&A on this one because there's so many people on it, but we will have part two once we get everything, more details from the government. We also will be recording this webinar and posting it for you, and I'll give you more information on that in a moment. So let's talk about what we're going to review today. Obviously, members may need help with their financial commitments because of business disruption caused by the COVID situation. The government has two sources specifically for COVID-19 and businesses. One of them are available right now, and one will be available very soon. That's the legislation that they're working on today. Some members don't know where to go, so we've worked with government agencies and to get you some overview information. We're going to try to do this in a really concise manner. I just want to stress, this is how information as we understand it. Not all this information is even finalized yet. So I don't want you to represent this as fact. It's more information will be coming soon, and some of it's likely to change. The whole idea of this webinar is to try to keep you ahead of the curve, so you hopefully can see what's about to come and get you prepped to take some action now. You're going to need to get some information ready to take advantage of some of these programs. And if you can get that information going ASAP. So let's dive right into this. What's available for members? Both programs are under SBA. The first program is called the Economic Disaster Loan Program. That's available right now. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on these in a second, but this is specifically for businesses economically impacted by Corona. The second program is what's called the Paycheck Protection Program. That's the federal stimulus plan that they're actually working on today. The advantage of this program is, besides a loan, there's possibility for loan forgiveness, meaning that you won't have to repay back the full loan. That'll be available soon. From our understanding, you will not be able to take advantage of both. You'll need to choose. So let me dive into the first one that's available today. This is called the Economic Disaster Loan Program. At 50,000 feet, these are low interest business loans, up to $2 million at 3.75%. They're designed to do fixed debt, payroll, and accounts payable. That's what they're designed to be used for. They have long-term repayment schedules up to 30 years. And the length of the loan and the amount of the loan is determined on a case-by-case basis. So that's 50,000 feet. The application process, and you can apply today, there's some T's and C's for that. You need to be in a disaster area. All 50 states are in that, so all would be eligible. It can be online or via paper, old school and mailed. Right now, they're recommending the mail approach because the online is having some issues with speed and so many people being on there right now. We actually will have posted on yoursourcenews.com all the paperwork for this. We've been working directly with SBA and they've been really helpful. So we'll have all that paperwork online for you to do it in that manner. The good news is what you need to fill out in the initial paperwork, it's very, very basic. Some business ownership information, some schedule of your liabilities, and a form that authorizes SBA to get your prior year taxes. If you're a sole proprietorship, you may need a financial statement to go with it as well. So that's how you get the process started for this loan. The application process, after you've submitted it, they actually provide a loan officer for you. This is a direct SBA loan officer. They're stretched right now, but after you get the SBA loan officer assigned, they might ask you for some more information. We're not going to go over all of this, but the decision on your loan amount, you do not request a dollar loan amount in the initial sign up. The decision will be made after the application's submitted and gone through with the loan officer. The advice from SBA is to get your paperwork in. Once you speak with the loan officer, they'll assist you from there. I'm not saying that everyone should apply for this loan, because remember, you can only apply for one. So we'll talk about that in a minute. These are some contact information for the disaster loan program. You don't have to write this down. Again, this will be all posted for you with all the contact information on yoursourcenews.com. So that's the SBA loan program for Economic Disaster Loan Program. The second program is the Paycheck Protection Program. Again, federal stimulus with some possibility for loan forgiveness. Now, in this program, we're really trying to keep you ahead of the curve. As you know, this is not put into official law yet. All the T's and C's are not done. The intent of this program, though, is to keep people employed. And you'll see that in the way it's laid out. We're giving you this in concept only. We've been working with the National Retail Federation. They're actually part of legislating this. It is not a final version, but hopefully the concept of what's prepared here will help you prepare in how you're going to apply. There's parts of this program that apply to companies with people that have over 500 employees. Today, we're only going to focus on the parts of the program that are for companies under 500 employees. Again, more information to come. I know you hear me saying all these asterisks. It's likely to change, but I thought I'd get everybody's head wrapped around the concept. So let's jump into this at a very, very broad level. The Paycheck Protection Program, they're going to provide $350 billion worth of support via this program. Basically, the good part of this is it'll be a special SBA loan, and you're going to work with local banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions that are certified for these SBA programs. There's 800 institutions supposedly around the country, and they're going to expand this. So the good news is that there'll be local SBAs to work with. They also will have a fast track approval process according to what they've sent us. These loans will not have collateral or personal guarantee requirements. The size of the loans are scheduled to equal 250% of an employer's average monthly payroll. It's basically 2.5 months times what your average monthly payroll is, and that includes benefits in payroll. Now, again, this is the multi-page documents they've sent. We're going to post those as well. This may change, but this is what it is at. I'm going to do an example in a moment to give you a little more detail on it. The forgiveness of the loan is based on you retaining employees. The higher percent you retain, the higher percent is forgiven. A lower percent is forgiven as headcount is reduced. The balance of the loan is not to exceed 10 years or 4% interest. So whatever loan balance is left after that. And let's jump into an example of how this might work for a member. Everyone's business is different size and shape, but I want to go over this. The 250% of your average monthly payroll, the way they define it right now, includes wages and cash tips. I'm not sure how spiffs will go into this. So that's to be determined. And it appears to be capped at $100,000 that you'll get credit for. So above 100, it does not appear per employee. It does include, though, what you're paying in group healthcare benefits, insurance premiums, retirement contributions, and covered leave. So all that goes into your payroll. So I want to do an example of a member whose annual payroll, the annual, is $600,000. That means their monthly payroll would be approximately $50,000. Using the 250% rule, 250% of the $50,000 would mean an initial loan of up to $125,000. The maximum loan amount available would be up to $10 million based on size of business. They're going to waive fees. They're also waiving normal underwriting, checking credit elsewhere tests, and the like. And again, no collateral or personal guarantees on these loans. Again, the way it's written today. So how does forgiveness work? Loan forgiveness. The way it's written today, you get 8 weeks, basically 2 months of payroll spend is eligible for forgiveness. Also, 8 weeks worth of rent and utility would be eligible for forgiveness. Again, the comp over 100K does not count towards that. And the forgiveness amount also takes into account payroll and comparing it to what it would be a year prior. So if you reduce payroll, that forgiveness would be reduced at that percentage. Now, a good news would be if you furloughed some people or laid them off and rehire them, supposedly the rehires would not be penalized or held against you. So let's do this same example of the $50,000 a month times 250%. You have an initial loan of $125,000. Let's pretend your average payroll drops to $45,000 a month. You'd get 2 months worth of credit or 8 weeks worth of credit. $90,000 would be forgiven. If your rent and utilities are $5,000 a month, you have 2 months worth of rent and utilities. $10,000 would be forgiven. And your net loan balance would be $25,000 on the $125,000 loan. Again, this is 50,000 feet. We're trying to get you the information today. This is subject to change, everybody, but we're trying to give you a feel for what the government's trying to accomplish. Now that net loan balance, the $25,000 in this example that would be left, would have a maturity of not more than 10 years on loan payments and a maximum interest of 4%. So that's how forgiveness would work. Another part of the bill that I'm not going to go into because I'm not a tax expert, but there's also business tax provisions for you to get carryback losses that would help also, as well as some delayed payroll taxes due for 2020, as well as 50% for 2021 and 22. There's some payroll tax credits, and they're going to allow for some deductibility, some increased deductibility on your interest expenses. Again, I know I keep repeating this, but there's going to be more information. It's likely to change. But I think knowing that there's two parts of this, a loan, forgiveness, and tax benefits that you're going to need to look into. So at 50,000 feet going back, there's two styles of loans. One's available today, the Economic Disaster Loan Program. This is more a traditional SBA loan, but they're fast tracking it. It's a low interest rate. There's no forgiveness in it, but you don't have to worry about or deal with addressing payroll or how many employees you might have or have not. The second is the Paycheck Protection Program. That's the federal stimulus that they're doing today. The big advantage of that is there's some possibility for loan forgiveness. It becomes a grant, more or less. They're basically, it pays for you to keep more employees for a period of time. I'm not going to discuss on this call what that period of time is, but that's part of the fine print everyone will need to be aware of. It allows you to forgive part of the loan, and there's no personal guarantees nor traditional type of credit checks. So we believe that many members will obviously be looking at the latter loan, the Paycheck Protection Program. So some members are going to be asking, what should we do? I would still get the paperwork today for the SBA Economic Disaster Loan Program. That's the program available today. I would get that paperwork now. The reason is much of the information that's going to be on that, you're going to need for that second loan. And I think speed and having all your information, even though there's not a lot of it, having all that information ready is very important. The SBA Paycheck Protection Program, that will be coming out shortly. And Once that comes out, then I wouldn't do it today, but then you'll be able to contact your local lender to work with SBA when that's available. Now, we want to make sure you have the most information and up to date. I think you know this, but yoursourcenews.com, there's a special COVID information hub. On that hub, we will have all the stuff I just spoke about today, including this recorded webinar. We're going to have information as it's released by SBA and the National Retail Federation. So all that will be available. Once that becomes available, we're going to do a second webinar that will be more based on what's actually out there. But we wanted to give you a 50,000 foot view ahead of time. So with that said, we're going to close the webinar, but I'd like everybody to remember 3 things. Stay safe, stay positive, stay committed. We're going to keep this information flowing. Please watch the website and contact us for any more information. And thank you for all your time today.